So then we have now made it to the month of June in the year of 2023, and we can start having an early stab at predictions for the 23-24 season. Today we are starting off at the basement level of the Football League, League 2 predictions today. Like I say guys, it's early predictions. Do take these with a pinch of salt. Don't get offended if I don't put your team where you think they should be. Just let me know your predictions down below. Your predictions won't offend me, so don't let my predictions offend you. If you like this kind of content, please do make sure to hit that like button. We'll go for 300 likes on this video. Do show some support for more League 2 content, and do make sure of course to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Get involved by subscribing down below, and let's get into this video. So then, as you can see, for my early predictions I'm going to be using a tier list. When I come on to doing my official predictions later on in the summer, I'll do a more in-depth video, but like I say, it's early predictions. What I will say is we're not really going to factor into the transfers at this moment in time because we're doing it before most of the transfers had happened. I know some people say, well, what's the point in that? But it's a bit of fun. Like I say, don't get offended by this. So you've got the top 7, the teams in the top 3 in the playoffs, the top half, the teams chasing for the playoffs. You've got mid-table, teams that I think will be in the middle, teams probably battling for survival but should get over the line, and my teams in the bottom 2. Basically, like I say, I'm doing this without any knowledge of what transfers are going through, but I'm doing it based on what the clubs have to offer at this moment in time, the general direction, what they did last season as well, the players and managers they've currently got with the fan bases as well. That's what I'm using to structure this video. So let's get straight into it, guys, starting off with Crawley Town. Now, Crawley Town survived in League 2 last season. They got over the line. They finished in 22nd place. I do think League 2 next year is going to be harder than the year that's just gone past, and I actually think Crawley Town could be in a spot of bother here. If they play anything like they did last season, then I think that's true anyway. If they bring in some big players and they start to improve, then obviously they can get themselves out of this. But like I say, I do think it's going to be very difficult. I don't think the 2 teams that have come up from the National League are going back down. So who's going to fill the void? I'm going to go for Crawley. Like I say, they did well. They survived in 22nd place. Fair play to them. But I don't think they were amazing. Their away form was the worst in the division. And unless there's a lot of change, I think they're going to be another team in trouble next season. So I'll go for Crawley as one of my teams in the bottom 2. Like I say, Crawley fans, don't be offended. We'll revisit this video after the transfers have gone through this summer. Next up, Forest Green, the first of the teams relegated from League 1, and they were bad. They were very bad in League 1. Don't get me wrong, what a story when they got promoted from League 2, but it's not been, they weren't able to build on it in League 1. They just weren't that good. They went down rock bottom. They were the worst team in the league. Obviously, Rob Edwards going was a big departure for them. I don't think they're going to go all the way through the football divisions back down to the National League, but I think it's going to be difficult, like I say, in League 2 next year. And without knowing what players they've brought in just yet, I think Forest Green might struggle a little bit. I'll put them in the bottom half. I'm going to put them in surviving. I think they've got enough to avoid another relegation, but I think Forest Green could be another struggle of a season. Let me know your thoughts anyway. AFC Wimbledon next. Now, what I will say with Wimbledon is they underachieved, in my opinion. Last season, AFC Wimbledon finished in 21st place. They could have gone down to the National League, which would have been a disaster. I like Wimbledon. I've got a lot of time for Wimbledon and their fans and the story and the journey that they've been through. I do think they'll improve a little bit on last season. I think as a club, they should be battling to try and get back into League 1. It's a hard one, though. Do I think they're going to climb the table massively? I'm not sure. I'm going to go mid-table at the moment. I'll be generous to Wimbledon and say they do improve a little bit on last season. Let's go to Grimsby Town next. I like Grimsby. I think they're a solid club, and I do think in a couple of years, maybe even this year, they could be pushing for League 1 football. Last season they finished mid-table. I think they'll be sniffing around the playoffs next season. I think they're a good club and they're a very good fan base as well at Grimsby Town. I'm going to put them in my top half. I reckon maybe 9th or 10th. Maybe they could get into the top 7. Once again, we'll see what business they do through the summer. But I think Grimsby Town will be one of the teams in the top half of League 2 next season. Wrexham are next. This might seem predictable, it might not, but I am going to go for Wrexham to be in that top 7. I think everything about Wrexham is screaming positivity. The momentum as well, honestly, this club is going in the right direction. Now, some people might not be too pleased with the financial backing that they've got compared to some of the other clubs in this league, but Wrexham, once they got out the National League for me, are always going to be a team that are going to go through League Two. And whether they just get in the playoffs or get in the top three, I think it will be one of those two. I think Wrexham have got a lot about them. They've got some fantastic players, a very experienced manager in Phil Parkinson who knows the Football League, and what a fan base as well. They're going to be some of the most passionate fans in League Two next season. I'm going to keep an eye on Wrexham next season. I do expect big things for them again, and I do think they're going to be pushing for promotion to League One. What a journey that'll be. Like I say, Ryan and Rob, brilliant backing there at Wrexham, and like I say, it screams positivity and an upward trend. I think Wrexham are going to be pushing for promotion to League One next season. MK Dons next, another team that came down from League One. I will go for MK Dons to be in the top 7. I think MK Dons are going to make a real push to get back to League One. I think they've got more resources than some of the clubs in League Two, and I think if MK Dons can just try and get some positivity back into that club, they can start pushing back towards League One. I remember when they went down to League Two a few years ago, they pushed themselves straight back up. So I think MK Dons will get in that top 7. Whether it's top 3 or playoffs, I don't know. But at this moment in time, I do think they're actually going to push back to League One in their first season. Stockport County, now this is one I'm very confident of. I think Stockport County will be in the top 7, and I think they will be in the top 3. I predicted them to finish in the top 3 last season in League 2. They fell agonisingly short in 4th place, and then to lose in the playoff final on penalties. Oh, that is heartbreaking, but I know your pain. I'm a Coventry fan. We lost the Championship playoff final on penalties, so I can sympathise. I think Stockport pick themselves up and go again. Really good fan base. They were a fantastic team last year. I've seen that they've released a few players already. I think they're going to bring in more quality though. Stockport County are going to push for promotion from League Two. I'm going to put them in the top 7. Let's put them there. Next up, you've got Harrogate Town. They finished 19th in League Two last year. Their form towards the end of the season was fairly good. I think they'll avoid the drop again. Do I think they'll climb the table much? They might do, but I feel quite confident that they could be in a similar position next season to where they were last. So I'm going to just slide Harrogate into the surviving category. Any Harrogate fans, do share your thoughts on that one. I'm struggling a little bit there. I think they might be in a similar position, so I won't change them too much. Crewe Alexandra are next. They finished mid-table in League Two last year. They finished in 13th place at the end of the season. I did actually predict them to finish mid-table. Now, some people might say they underachieved a little bit as a team that came down from League One. I think they might do the same again. They're a decent club, actually. They've got experience of being promoted from this level, and they've got a decent fan base on side. I think I'm going to play it safe and put them in mid-table till we see what business goes through for Crewe. Plop in the middle there. Gillingham are next. Gillingham, they were a bit underwhelming last season. Another team that came down from League One, and I suppose you can say they underachieved. They weren't great on the road, I must say. They picked up the bulk of their points at home. I think they improve a bit. I think they could push towards mid-table. They might do a bit better, actually. They might get in the top half. But for now, I'll put them in mid-table. Gillingham fans, share your thoughts once again. We'll just see what business goes through for Gillingham. But I'm going to put them in the middle. Mansfield. I'm going to put Mansfield in the top 7. Mansfield have been pushing towards League One football for a couple of seasons now. I saw them get to the League Two playoff final 2 seasons ago now, and they lost in the final to Port Vale. They just didn't turn up at Wembley. Last season, just missed out on the playoffs in 8th place. I think they'll have another stab at trying to get into League One. They're a solid club at this level, and I think eventually the penny will drop and they'll get themselves out of this division. I'm going to say top 7. I think they could be playoff bound, to be honest. So share your thoughts, Mansfield fans. I think the bookies are fancying you to have a good season. Next up, you've got Tranmere. Tranmere finished 12th last season. Can they do one better and climb a couple places, maybe get towards the top 7? I think I'll go for maybe like 9th or 10th, probably similar to where I've put Grimsby. I do like Tranmere Rovers. I think they're a very good club, and I would like to see them get back to League One. That's where I remember them being a few years ago. They just seemed a bit inconsistent last season, so I'll say they push for the playoffs next year. They could prove me wrong and get in there, but I'll put them there. I think that's a safe bet. Walsall FC are up next. They finished 16th in League Two last year, and their form towards the end of the season was quite poor. They'll be hoping to put that to the side and start again fresh going into next season. Once again, it depends on what players they bring in, but maybe they improve a little bit, climb a couple places. I'll put them in the middle. What do you think to that one, Walsall fans? Let's move on to Accrington Stanley. This is an interesting one. They're another team who's just come down from League One. They weren't great, were they? They had been really solid over the last few years. I mean, they'd consolidated themselves in League One since their promotion from League Two 5 years ago in 2018. And remember, last time they were in League Two, they won League Two. This time round, as I say, I think League Two looks very difficult. And can they pick themselves up? Do you know what? I'm going to go the same as Forest Green. That might seem harsh, but I think it could be bottom half for Accrington Stanley. Bradford City next. They missed out on promotion in the playoff semi-finals to Carlisle last time in League Two, didn't they? They're a big club for this level, aren't they? You know, the fan base that they've got, the stadium that they've got, the manager that they've got, you know, it's pointing towards being in a higher division, but they just can't seem to get out of this division. I'll go for them to be in the top 7 again. Wouldn't surprise me if they finish in the playoffs and lost again, but maybe this time around it'll be different. Maybe this time they'll get in the playoffs and win, or maybe they can make a better push for the top 3, but I just think that club's got to keep pushing towards League One football at a minimum, so I'll put them in the top 7. Bradford fans, what do you reckon? Do you reckon you can have another stab at promotion from League Two? Let's move down to Doncaster, staying in Yorkshire here. Doncaster finished in 18th place. That was really underwhelming in my opinion. Doncaster are a club that I remember playing in the Championship a few years ago. Doncaster just weren't very inspiring last season, especially towards the end of the season. Their form wasn't very good in the last 6, 7, 8 games. So, I don't know. Can Doncaster pick themselves up and go again? Do you know what? Let's go for an improvement for Doncaster. I don't know where I'm getting this from, but let's say they get into the top half. Donny fans, what do you reckon? Am I being optimistic there? I do think as a club they should be pushing towards League One, so maybe I'm being a bit optimistic for them, but they can share their thoughts down below. Morecambe next, another team that came down from League One. Morecambe did alright in their first season in League One when they stayed up. I think they might have a little bit more about them than Accrington and Forest Green, but as I say, it looks very difficult in League Two next year, so I'll plop them in the middle, which I think is a safe bet. Once again, Morecambe fans, share your thoughts. Barrow, they had a pretty good season on the whole. They just sort of ran out of gas and didn't get into the top 7 in the end. Maybe a similar season. Can they get top 12? Maybe mid-table? Oh, I'm kind of torn between these two. Like I say, I think it's going to be difficult. I'll say mid-table just because I think Wrexham and Notts County and the teams coming down are really going to strengthen this division. Some teams might get pushed down the table a little bit. I'll say Barrow have another decent season. I'll put them mid-table. Next up, you got Newport County. Newport finished 15th last season. Not a great season, considering in seasons gone by they'd been pushing. Remember, they lost out to Morecambe in the League Two playoff final 2 seasons ago. Can Newport get back on track? I think the problem for them last season was just any kind of consistency. They in their last 6 games, they won, lost, drew. So with that sort of form, you're going to finish in the middle of the table. Let's be generous and say Newport can climb a little bit on last season. I'll put them in the top 12. What do you reckon, Newport fans? I'll put you in there. You have got Omar Bogle, who got 17, 18 goals last year, so he's a decent player. I'll put you in the top half. Colchester are next. Do you know what? The bookmakers think Colchester will be in trouble next season, and maybe they will be. I think Colchester United have been very uninspiring over the last couple of seasons. I think they finished 20th last year, and with it being more competitive this year, I'll go with the bookmakers as well, actually. I'll go Colchester relegated, which to me would be a bit of a surprise considering I remember them playing League One football not too long ago, but maybe they could be in trouble this year. I'll put them in my bottom 2. Let's move on to Sutton next. Sutton finished 14th, which is mid-table, but their form was terrible towards the end of the season. 1 point in their last 6. They were bottom of all the form tables in the final run of the season. If that carries on going into the new season, they could be in real trouble. I don't think they're going down. I've already said what my bottom 2 are, but I don't know. Can they pick themselves up and battle for the playoffs again? This might seem harsh, but I'll put Sutton in my surviving category. Maybe bottom half, considering the negativity at the club towards the end of the season with how poor things were going. I'll put them in surviving. 3 teams left. 2 more teams can join my top 7. This is a real struggle, this, especially with it being so early, but I am making this video, so I've got to give it a stab anyway. Notts County, I'm going to put them in the top 7. If people are saying Wrexham are the best team we've ever seen in National League history, then I think you have to say Notts County are the second best team we've seen in National League history. They were only a step behind Wrexham the whole way, and if they'd have missed out on the playoffs, I'd have been outraged for them. They were so good last year. Got some really good players, Langstaff, Rodriguez. I thought they played really well last year, and they deserve to get back up. How many years did they keep getting close to promotion and not doing it? Notts County, traditional club. I think they're now the oldest club in the Football League again after their promotion. I think they'll be in the top 7. Big club, big fan base, positivity being bred there. I think they're going back on track towards maybe League One next year. Swindon Town and Salford next. I'm going to put Swindon in my top 7, despite a slightly underwhelming season to finish 10th last year. I think Swindon Town will get into the top 7. I do like them as a club. I do want to see them get back to League One. They are a decent sized club, so maybe they can just improve a little bit on last season and get themselves into that top 7. I'll go for it. Not a lot to go off at this moment in time, but I'll be generous to Swindon and say they get in there. The last team then, Salford City. Salford, I'm going to have to slide you into the top half. They did just sneak into the playoffs last year, so it's not impossible they could do it again. They finished in 7th place. They missed out on Wembley when they lost to Stockport in the playoff semis. They could get into the top 7 again next year. I'll put them in the top half, battling for the playoffs again. Let me know your thoughts if you support any of these teams. So then guys, that wraps up today's video. Like I say, it's a very early stab at the predictions for League 2 for the 23-24 season. Don't take those predictions too seriously. Don't be offended. Like I say, there's not a lot to go off there, but that's my opinion anyway. Do make sure, of course, if you enjoyed the video, to hit that like button, and please do make sure to subscribe down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.